In this video, I'm going to give you an update on my giant pumpkins, their plants, and I have a new pumpkin set on one of my plants. So we'll see how big I can get her by the end of the season. And then one of my pumpkins has some really scary growth cracks that make me nervous. I'll give you a good look at those, and hopefully we can keep her going till the end of the season. I just wanted to say thanks to all you that watch my videos. It means a lot to me. If you ever have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. I'll answer the questions in future videos or just respond within the comments. It is Monday, September 1st, and we are standing next to my 1970.5 Turner, which is Astrid. I will flip you around and give you a look at her plant, and then we will get in there and see her up close. Stay tuned. So I was gonna walk in and show you her plant from inside, which I will do, but I'm gonna start out here because where the sun is right now is casting bad shadows on the plant. But so this is Astrid's plant. I pointed out before, so this is where her plant is, and then that's Dolores's plant over there. They're really growing together now. We got some rain a couple days ago. It's probably about 4/10 of an inch of rain, but that just shot all my vines out like crazy. I think some of them were maybe lacking a little bit of nutrients, so I was gonna fertilize them with something, but after that rain, they just perked up like crazy and look a lot better. So the main vine comes through and curves over here, and I have it terminated right there. But then all these secondaries now are terminated, and I think I have basically two vines that aren't terminated. Actually, I think now that I'm looking at it, I think all these are terminated because I terminated that last one over there yesterday, but the one I have going still is over there. That is the only one I still have going on this plant. So I'll take you in now so you can see a better look at Astrid. So normally I would go through the gate down by Dolores to get to Astrid, but I had to come in by the 2177 Ford here because I can't walk through at the end of this plant anymore. So like over there, I can't walk through that because it is too thick. So I've had to switch where I'm coming into this plant. It's making it fairly interesting to get through here now, but it's a good sign my plant's filled out. But so this is Astrid. She is, gosh, I think like 68 days old today. I took her 65-day measurement, I think it was 3 days ago. I can't remember for sure, but on her 65-day measurement, she was estimating at 1,620 pounds. And she was still gaining around 24, a little over 24 pounds a day for the previous 5 days. So if she's keeping that up with this nice weather we're having, she should be, I don't know, probably close to 1,700 pounds now. But we'll see. So for anybody that's interested, it's kind of cool once you think about it, but her circumference, so all the way around her, is over 16 feet now. So from here all the way around, she's over 16 feet around, which is kind of crazy to think about when you think about it that way. But she did, see if I can get down here so you can see it better, but she did get within an inch of growing off this board. So the board goes right here and along there. So I added an extension yesterday, and for what I do for anybody that runs into this situation is I get the ground level the best I can next to the existing board. And then this board here is just another board with holes drilled into it. So I lay it there next to it, put some weight on the end, and then I put some sand on it. The reason I have this brick here or block here and a rock down there, but the reason I do that is when she pushes onto this board, I don't want it to push away and then she ends up on the soil. So I'll check this over time. One thing I have done in the past is I've taken my hangers that I use for stapling down the vines and I put them on the edge of this board so it can't push out. So that's one thing I might try as well. But here's a look at her blossom. So far, so good. And then that board over there, you can see there is a little gap here, but the sand's on top, so I think it's fine. Nothing should be able to get up through there, like a mouse or something, to get at it, hopefully. But she is almost off that extension over there. So I think I had to add another extension probably today. I need to look at that. That one's going to be a lot harder to add because of all the vines than the one over here was. So if we look, you'll notice she has some sag lines here. I'm hoping they don't cause any issues, especially where they meet these ridges here, or these valleys. But this is the early scarring, which is from, I think it's from the blanket being wet and her growing too fast. But the only cantalouping, so for anybody that doesn't grow pumpkins or doesn't know what I'm talking about, is this look right here. It just gets a little rougher. That is called cantalouping. Hopefully you can see it on the camera. But the only cantalouping she really has is up top here. That typically comes with age. I would say, some people say the more cantalouping, the heavier it's going to be. I don't know if that is truly the case, because I had one that was had a ton of cantalouping and really didn't go that heavy. But one thing I like about it is that there's very little cantalouping. I feel like she's still packing on the pounds pretty good. So that I just want to point that cantalouping out. But I will give you a better look at her plant, and then we'll move on to Dolores. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to give you a view of this plant that I wanted to show you, because the sun's over there, so it's kind of bright looking this direction. But if I do it the other direction, then my shadow covers everything. But so this secondary right here, that's before the pumpkin, that goes out and follows along here. And it goes on this other side of this table, and it is right there. So this is the only secondary, I think, that I still have growing, which then typically the plant will push out tertiaries everywhere. But this one, since it feeds directly to the pumpkin, this one I'm going to keep going. I'm going to grow it through up here and eventually probably terminate it. But I've decided I'm just going to let it grow. I'm not going to have that one terminated for now. So if we look over here, this is the sheet that goes on her. I usually have her covered, but I wanted it uncovered for the video. And sometimes in the morning, I'll just leave it uncovered so I can get a little bit of sun. And then if you're wondering why there's a radio here, that I turn on every night with hopes that it deters animals, whether it does or just makes me feel better. Either way, I play it at night, and I have done that for years. So now we are on the other side. I came in by Dolores. We're on the other side of the 1970.5 Turner, and I'm just making my way on these boards. I decided I'm going to show you Astrid's stem side quick so we can see what's going on. But right here, I'll show you. I got a fan going on here, and you can't really see it, but I'll kind of explain it here, because somebody was asking this question. It was actually an experienced grower was asking this question on what some of us typically do for healing up rot on these stems. So you won't be able to see too much here probably, but probably a couple weeks ago I had rot right here. So it got moisture here. It's where the main vine and the stem come together, and it just wasn't a spot the sun could get to. So I had a little bit of brown rot there. So what I did is I took my knife, I scraped it out. So I scraped all the rot out down to the green flesh, and then I wiped it with rubbing alcohol, and then I put this fan on. The fan's been on it ever since, and it has stayed dried, so hopefully it stays that way going forward. But we got into a little discussion on rubbing alcohol. I personally use 70% rubbing alcohol. This is for anybody that's a grower that's trying to figure out how to stop rot. But I use 70% alcohol. Others use, I don't know if it's 90 or 91. But from the research I've done, and maybe this is wrong, but I'm just going to tell you, it says that 70% is better at disinfecting because it doesn't evaporate as quick, so it penetrates deeper and kills more bacteria and stuff. So I don't know if that's true. That's what I've been using. I've had good luck with it. But just wanted to mention that quick because I use 70% rubbing alcohol. But anyways, back to this. I'll put the fan back. This main vine here is getting super tight. I have this right on. There's a little bit of knuckle here where there was a leaf at one point. I have this tucked in there. It's getting pretty tight, but I'm not really going to probably do anything about it. I don't think at this point it's going to grow like where it's going to rip itself off here. And if I do have major issues there, I would not want to, but I could always cut the main vine there and I still have plant behind it. But hopefully I don't have to deal with that. But here is a look at Astrid from this angle. You can see that her top here kind of comes over a little bit and she looks a little different from this side. But that is Astrid, and we will now move on to Dolores. So we are now at the 1931 Turner plant, which is Dolores's plant. So this is the old growth. And then I'll swing across. There is Dolores, and there is the new growth. So this has been terminated. This whole plant's been terminated for a while. But if you look, you probably don't see it, but because there's weeds there. But there's a tertiary there, and I think there's other tertiaries I've seen in the plant. And I actually think one of them might have had a pumpkin that I was trying to form. So I'll have to look at that closer. But so you'll see I have a fan here. This pumpkin is kind of scary. If you look at the growth cracks here, they are getting fairly large. There's quite a few of them. She just keeps cracking it, but she doesn't, I don't know, hopefully her growth's inside and she's getting really heavy, but she isn't putting on a lot of inches, so her estimate's not going up very fast at all. I think she's only gaining roughly 10 pounds a day right now, but she is cracking like crazy. So these are actually the cracks. These cracks, except for this one, maybe is new last night somewhat. And that one's going to make me a little nervous. But the other side is where I'm actually more nervous. So I'll take you around there and then I'll talk about her. Hopefully my shadow doesn't block things on the pumpkin while I'm trying to show it from there. But I'll go all the way around to the other side and explain what's kind of scaring me. So we're at the other side of Dolores, and I got kind of tucked away funny here just because I'm trying not to shadow what I'm talking about with my shadow from the sun here. But what is scaring me is not, I mean, all these growth cracks are normal, but this is the one right here that is making me the most nervous. Reason being is the sand I had there that goes under the pumpkin was wet there because of the rain we got. And then the crack goes from up there all the way down, but the crack was in that wet sand. So what I've done, and it's probably hard to tell, is I dug all that sand out from that front of the pumpkin here. And so this crack does not go into the sand at the moment. And I wiped it with alcohol. And then I had that fan that's on the other side. I had that blowing on here for a couple days. Seems to be drying out fine. But it made me nervous because we do have some rain coming up. And I just don't want that to sit in wet sand or moisture, because then it could have a chance at rotting, and I need to get this thing to the end of the season. So we've had good weather lately, but I know that's changing here soon. I suppose I forgot to mention sorry, I'm walking as I talk here and trying to step on my walking boards that I have here. But I forgot to mention she is estimating 1176 pounds as of 2 days ago. So day 70. So she's not really that big. And another funny thing is the day I cut up Cloud Jumper, so my 2177 Ford, that one estimated at 1176. One of my measurements, 5-day measurements for Astrid was 1176. And now Dolores is measuring 1176. So it's kind of interesting because I only measure every 5 days, but all three of them have had measurements of 1176. But we are coming to the, this is the 2177 Ford. I am going to back up here, just trying to make it work better with the sun. Not sure that's going to be actually the case, but I will flip you around so you can see a better view of the 2177 Ford. So a lot of times we show you what looks good in your patch, but when I lost the 2177 Ford, so Cloud Jumper, I neglected this plant. I just wanted to show you what's going on. So if you notice, there are weeds everywhere. When I weeded out the other two plants, I didn't do this one because I didn't know what my plans were. That weed right there is probably a good 8 feet tall. And then this actually is her main vine. You can hardly see her crown there, but that is the main vine. It is awful. It is not great, but I just thought I'd show you that because normally we show you everything that is great. So we are walking over. I'll just show you my path here. It's kind of stupid, but trying to get to what I want to show you is where I had Cloud Jumper sitting on that board, but I got to go all different ways to get around here. And then when I get to here, typically I would walk on walking boards, but I just walked through the weeds, through the plant. There is a pumpkin here. My plan is to cut that off. I have, gosh, I don't even know where they all are, but I have another one somewhere around here, but, oh, it's right here. So this one's kind of cool. It's longer. But that one, the plan is to cut that one off as well. I got a couple over here. There's one along here that's going to get cut off. There's that one I plan to cut off. That one I plan to cut off. But the reason we're walking in here is I took the secondary head that was closest to Cloud Jumper and swung it around. And it used to come through here, but I swung it around and have it on the board. I did not want to go through the process of moving my board that Cloud Jumper sat on. So what I did is I curved that vine around and was able to get a pumpkin on the board. So that currently is the pumpkin I'm going with. That's, unless it aborts, that's the one I'm going to go with. And if it aborts, then I probably won't have a pumpkin on this plant. But we're going to see how big we can get her. And, you know, I think if I'm lucky, she'll get to 400 to 500 pounds. That would be with great weather. We are in September, so I don't know if that's realistic at all. She is, if I had to guess, I think she is 10 days old today. So she's got a scar, if you can see it. She's got a scar on top. I don't really care. I don't expect her to be pretty. That brown that if you, I don't know if I can point to it. I don't even know my fingers. There it is. Whoa. But anyways, that brown that's by her stem there is just a cut off secondary that was right by her. But we have, I'll zoom out a little bit, but, and then you can see, sorry, you can see where I cut off Cloud Jumper there. But we have 4 days coming up here. It's like 77 today. It's been around there, upper 70s lately, but we have 4 days coming up that are going to be in the, gosh, I think they said it's going to be the highs of the upper 50s, low 60s, and lows right around low 40s. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that weather for all my pumpkins just shutting down, but for this one, I don't think that's going to really help things at all, but hopefully it jumps back up after the cooler weather. Just going to show you quick a pumpkin that was growing on Lucy's plant. I just found it yesterday, so it's grown pretty big. It's kind of buried in the weeds. It's got a big dent from one of the vines or leaf stalks was like up into it. So I'll flip you around here. So this is Lucy's plant. So this was a 1970.5 Turner, and it has, I don't climb through it here at all, but it does have some powdery mildew going on, if you can see that. I just don't do anything with this plant anymore, but you'll see some pumpkins growing up against the fence. There's another one in there hanging. There's some down there. But what I wanted to show you is this one. So this one's actually a decent size. I have no clue how old it is, but it has a, if we can get down in here, it has a dent there. I might do something with that pumpkin, get a board under it so it's not sitting in that wet environment all the time. But this thing has pumpkins everywhere. I haven't been taking the blossoms off to help keep rot out. Suppose I could do that, but just wanted to show you this pumpkin. It is pretty cool that just kind of grows like after Lucy was picked, it just kind of went nuts and is growing pumpkins everywhere. So that's where this video is going to wrap up. If you have any questions, just let me know. I do love interactions going back and forth. I will put them in a future video if it's something I can show. But thank you so much for watching.